We can't by statute overturn a higher law, which would be the Constitution. So why would your law, even if we were, or your change here, amendment, were to pass, why would that not be stricken down? Because obviously we have a constitutional amendment that is stronger authority.
Because you're not interpreting the Constitution correctly. That's not what the constitutional amendment means.
It's not what it means. It's exactly what it says.
That is not what, read it. It doesn't say anything about your female parts.
No, it does not say that. But it says that we do not have to suffer an unreasonable invasion of privacy. And if what's going on in my vagina is not an unreasonable invasion of privacy for this legislature to get involved in, I don't know what is. What if we start talking about what you gentlemen do, whether y'all have erectile problems, or whether you have had a vasectomy, or any of these other things? What if we pass legislation that you have to tell us this, and then the people or the doctors or whoever get to decide whether you're going to get to move forward with any type of intervention? Isn't that exactly what we're talking about?
Senator, I think those are reasonable points for you to make. I disagree with you. I think it would have been great if you had actually shown up for work on Tuesday and made those points.
Hello, I was here. I was here. Are you talking about medical affairs? I gave my vote. My vote counted. My vote counted, and I watched it. But I'm here now on the floor, sir, which is exactly where it's appropriate.
So I completely disagree with the senator's interpretation of the Constitution.
So the woman in this clip is South Carolina State Senator Sandy Senn, a Republican. She's going back and forth with South Carolina State Senate President Shane Massey, another Republican. Now, South Carolina Republicans had attempted to pass a near-total abortion ban with no exceptions for rape and incest, but were ultimately unable to do so when a number of Republicans joined with Democrats in opposing the bill. Now, once that bill, South Carolina House Bill 5399, was blocked, Massey offered an amendment to replace the language of that bill and instead insert language to change the state's existing 6-week abortion ban. Those changes would, quote, shore up the existing South Carolina abortion law, SB 1, against legal challenges and address some ambiguities that the state Supreme Court found. His amendment would allow for 0 abortions, meaning a full abortion ban from the moment of conception, and would only offer an exception for rape and incest, although it would shorten the time frame from the existing 20 weeks down to 14 weeks. Now, aside from the full ban, the Senate took issue with 2 subsections of the amendment in particular, one stating that fatal fetal abnormalities would require a diagnosis by 2 separate physicians before an abortion can be performed, and another that the physician performing the abortion would have to preserve a DNA sample from the fetal remains. This may be a good time to remind you that we're all old enough to remember when Republicans fear-mongered about the ACA passing because they said the government shouldn't be able to get between you and your doctor. And that was for a law making healthcare more affordable. And yet now, you've got all-male Republican caucuses trying to tell a woman carrying a potentially life-threatening, non-viable fetus inside of her that she has to see multiple doctors before she can access life-saving medical care. But sure, the ACA was the real threat to healthcare. Got it. What was so impactful about what Senator Senn was saying, aside from the optics of a male senator condescending to a female senator about what should or should not happen when it comes to a woman's body, is that when she turned the tables and offered up legislation regarding male reproductive rights, suddenly all Senator Massey could do was split hairs about which meetings she missed. And that really is the whole ballgame. These Republican men are perfectly content to legislate away the rights of other people, but posed with the prospect of their lives being even remotely inconvenienced, suddenly it's whataboutism and deflection. And so while Senator Senn was certainly compelling, I would probably stop short of saying that female legislators should be able to decide what men can or cannot do with their reproductive health and stick to my original thesis that no one, man or woman, should be able to legislate what happens between someone and their doctor. And clearly that's the point that Senator Senn was trying to make. It was only easy for Massey to cast it off as ridiculous because of the inherent misogyny in politics, where even the notion of limiting a man's reproductive rights is just ridiculous. But a woman's? Well, here we have the Supreme Court of the United States that did exactly that. Here we have state legislators in a slew of states that have done exactly that. Here, Senator Massey, in the flesh, is attempting to do exactly that. Because a man's body is apparently sacrosanct, but a woman's body, well, why wouldn't these old dudes be able to dictate what she can or cannot do? Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Here's the thing, while these abortion bans in South Carolina failed, yes, there were Republicans like Senator Sen who opposed this legislation on what she's presenting on moral grounds, but there were other Republicans who saw the writing on the wall and recognized that their own jobs, their own livelihoods, their own political futures would be in immediate jeopardy if they were to pass something like this bill. And I say that because these people all have eyes, and they all saw what happened in Kansas, a reliably red state that saw a near presidential level turnout to oppose a constitutional amendment banning abortion. And it wasn't even close, it was 60-40. And that's to say nothing of the 5 special elections that have taken place since Dobbs, which have seen a near double-digit swing on average. In an environment where Republicans should be winning these battleground seats easily, to instead be losing them is a 5-alarm fire, and the direct result of exactly the types of law that was proposed in South Carolina. Now, taking a step back, I know that Democrats love to panic about what the right message is heading into an election. If there was ever any doubt about what our message should be with midterms only a few weeks away, it is that we are the one and only party that will protect a woman's right to choose what she does with her own body. A message, by the way, that's supported by 70% of Americans. If the goal here is to focus on issues that unite our party and divide the other party, that is to a T what we've got here. Democrats are wholly and entirely united on preserving a woman's bodily autonomy. Republicans are engaged in a civil war over what should be done, split between the far-right extremists who they're forced to kowtow to and their own political careers, which would be put in immediate jeopardy. That is the issue we focus on. That is the issue we make sure that every single voter around the country knows about. And granted, there will be obstacles, just like what happens before every single election. Republicans have already tried to make this a referendum on immigration. They'll do stupid stunts like ship migrants to Martha's Vineyard. They'll try to point out every time a shoplifter steals a candy bar so they can rail against crime. It is the same tired song every single September or October. So don't fall for it. Don't let them rewrite the narrative, because what's at stake in this election is the rights of women to be able to control what they do with their own bodies. And if Republicans win in November and their strategy is validated, it won't stop at abortion. They'll move on to contraception and same-sex marriage and continue to strip away our rights until whatever far-right Christo-fascist fever dream is realized. I have zero intention of letting that happen, and you shouldn't either. So I know I sound like a broken record, but this is a message worth repeating. Find the people in your circle who haven't voted, and I know we all have those people in our lives, and do your part to get them registered. Maybe you have someone who just turned 18 or 19, maybe you have someone who considers themselves more in the middle, maybe you have someone who does tend to vote Republican, but who recognizes just how extreme the GOP has become. We all have a role to play here, so please do your part to ensure that these extremist theocrats on the right get the repudiation that they deserve. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.